I hate rat pedals, so why am I about to demo 3 of them? The reason why is because one of these pedals is the featured pedal of this particular episode of Forgotten Gems of the Past. That pedal being this one here in the middle, the Rat Roadkill pedal. Now, if you are new to this channel, or even maybe if you have been watching this channel a while, you just didn't know this, I hate rat pedals. I've always hated rat pedals. I've never liked them, and the reason why is because they have a tendency to walk the line between distortion and fuzz, and if you know anything about me at all, it's that fuzz aspect of that equation that makes me really not like them. So why am I doing this video, you might be asking? I'll tell you why. The reason why is because about a year or so ago, a little more than a year ago, Electro-Harmonix came out with this guy here, this pedal here, which is called the Flatiron Fuzz. And the Flatiron Fuzz, of course, is Electro-Harmonix's clone of the rat pedal. I bought it, basically just kind of on an impulse whim purchase, and, expected to hate it and hate everything about it, and kind of expected the video that I knew I was going to do on it to be one making fun of it, and it turned out that I actually really liked it. So that has kind of had me curious to revisit the rat pedal ever since. So here in just the last week or so, I've had both of these guys show up. This one here you are probably familiar with, as this is a very popular pedal, and this one you see all over the place. This is, of course, the Proco Rat. This is the current iteration of it. I think the technical official name of this pedal is the Proco Rat 2. And, if you're looking to buy a brand new rat pedal today, just a plain old rat pedal, that's the one that you're going to buy. They make several other different versions of the rat, but just the rat itself, this is it, otherwise known as the Rat 2. And for all intents and purposes, the Rat 2, I think, is probably the 3rd or 4th generation of the original rat pedal that came out back in the early 80s. Which leads me to this guy. This is the Rat Roadkill pedal. And this one is the oddball. This is the one that I was not familiar with. When I first saw it, I've seen a lot of pedals in my day, and I have never seen one of these. At least I hadn't until one of these popped up as I was doing what most guitar players obsessed with gear do, surfing the internet. And I did some digging on it, and this pedal was out. They put this pedal out in the, right in the mid-'90s, I believe. And it was, I read someplace that it was actually a Guitar Center exclusive. I don't know if that's true or not, but it certainly does make sense that it would be. And the other very unique thing about it, and I'm going to go into more detail about it here after we hear it, but this pedal actually features the famous LM308 chip that is very popular for various different types of distortion and overdrive pedals. So this demo I'm going to conduct a little bit differently. I'm going to play through all 3 of them. I'm going to set all the knobs back to 12 o'clock and kind of just play through each of them real briefly so we can get an idea of what they all sound like back to back. And then I am going to record each of them in each individual full track demos, just a real short, not a full song or anything, just a quick verse or something with some drums and stuff, just so we can hear how each of them sound in a mix. And speaking of said mix, I'm going to try to keep the EQ and compression and all that kind of stuff in each mix the same. So without further ado, let's give these things a listen. this was a very interesting experiment for me, and I am going to go ahead and admit and go on record admitting that I think I may in fact be a rat convert, because I actually really like all three of these pedals, and I never ever thought I would like any of them. The rat I know is can be fairly temperamental as far as how it behaves, depending on what kind of amp you're running it into. But all of my amps that I've tried them through, the couple that I've tried them through anyway. This time around, my tastes must be changing, or my ear must be changing, or both, because I'm actually beginning to really, really dig rat pedals now for some reason. And I suppose we should credit Electro Harmonics with that conversion. Now, on to the main topic of this video, being the Roadkill pedal. I mentioned earlier that this one was, I had read anyway that it was in fact a Guitar Center exclusive back in the mid-90s. I didn't know that pedals were doing, retail store specific exclusive models back then, but I suppose it's not unheard of. Anyway, so if there's anybody out there that can confirm that part of it for me, please feel free to do so down in the comments. I would really like to know. A couple of things about the pedal itself. I think tone-wise, it's it's definitely kind of a smoother sounding version of this guy. Which I really kind of like. I don't need a whole ton of gain, and I certainly don't necessarily need it. Need a distortion pedal that sounds like tossing a can of nails down a running garbage disposal. So this one's definitely a little bit more subtle, and it is definitely not without its quirks. Admit it's not very well designed at all. I've noticed it's you probably noticed it's not very well designed, and probably not really very well built either. Now, I don't know what kind of life this thing had before I got a hold of it. However, you probably noticed in the playthrough demo, me fiddling with knobs, because the levels were jumping up and down all over the place. So there's definitely some kind of short going on in there. But I think I made it work for today's purposes. The switch here is that's actually a plastic switch inside of a. The rest of the housing is all metal, but that switch itself is actually plastic, and honestly, just kind of feels like it's waiting to break. There is no AC input on this thing at all, so it is 9-volt batteries or bust, unless you have one of these little 9-volt adapter converter doojobbies here to use and run out of your power supply, which is how I am running it. But in order to do that, it actually comes straight out of the bottom instead of the back. So you need to be prepared for it to either sit on these 9-volt wires or, sit up a little bit. If you are going to use the battery in it, it actually comes with the plastic battery door from hell. This thing is not easy to get in and out of there. This is a brand new battery that is in it, by the way. And when I went to go pull it out, because I wanted to use the 9-volt adapter on it, actually on the plug where you would plug the battery in actually just popped out, just because it got hung up on the inside of the cavity there where this thing is stored. And this particular battery is the battery door itself, once it's in, it's stable, it's not going anywhere, but it's kind of finicky getting in and out of there, and I can see it doing some damage to that plug if you're not careful. These are very interesting. Like I said, I'm not sure that they were the best made pedal in the world. This is actually this is actually the fourth one of these that I ran across before I finally got to buy one. The first three that I ran across, the first one that I ran across was insanely overpriced, but the next two that I ran across, based on my market research, seem to be priced pretty fairly. However, both stores that I found them at were not able to sell them to me because they had just recently bought them in and just recently discovered after that there was something wrong with them that needed to be repaired, and didn't. So they didn't feel comfortable selling them to me right away. This one, of course, as you probably noticed through the playthrough video, there's definitely some scratchy pots and some, causing some volume jumping up and down. So, they weren't put together very well, but it sure does sound pretty cool. It is a really, really cool sounding distortion. It's like I said, it's definitely a mellower version of this Rat pedal, but without, it doesn't quite have the fuzz tone aspects that this one and this one do, which myself I actually happen to kind of like. So, and one other cool thing about it, the controls on a typical Rat pedal: distortion, filter, volume. Those are, you can pretty much figure out what those are. On the Roadkill, on the other hand, the controls read headlights, screech, and splatter, which is kind of a nice touch. So if you are curious about this pedal, they do seem to be out there on the used market. Like I said, I had never actually seen one of these before until about a month ago, and all of a sudden I just happened to stumble across it and just got curious about it and did some research and figured out what it was. But used price, they seem to sell used for about $40 or $50, depending on. And I think that's a fair price. Especially if you happen to get one that works on top to bottom. And if not, if you're handy with that kind of stuff, I'm sure it's, whatever it is that's wrong with it on the inside, it's probably a pretty easy fix. So I will post links to everything used in this video and post them for you down in the description. You can also find various links to various different ways that you can support this channel down in the description, should you choose to do so. Your support of the channel goes a long, long way and allows me to keep making videos just like this one, which I very, very much enjoy doing. Again, don't forget to leave me a comment down below, especially if you can confirm that Guitar Center exclusive thing back in the 90s piece of information that I found on this. And if you can tell me if that is true or not, that would be fantastic. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the bell. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you soon.